We will be talking football in a second. How are the Cleveland Browns screwing this up? That and a whole lot more on the NFL, plus whatever you guys want to talk about. Couch Potato Diary Live starts right now. All right, welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much. Let me just get a better shot here. Thank you very much for hanging out today. As always, presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca. Grab that great Calgary swag. Saw some Sea of Dead out at WWE's house show here in Calgary on Sunday. Such a fun time. So much fun. Really, really cool. Kind of a last minute thing being able to go, but actually sat right beside someone wearing one of the Stampede Wrestling shirts. So yeah, head over to seaofdead403.ca, grab that great Calgary swag. We got a bunch of stuff coming up on the show, a lot of football, some wrestling as well, a little bit of baseball sprinkled in. So for the Calgary folks, not as much hockey on this one today, but if you have any Flames thoughts or anything like that, throw them my way in the chat and we can get rolling with those as well. Or anything, like I said before. I got an outline for what I want to talk about, but the best shows are the ones where you guys do all the work. And whatever you guys want to talk about, we can roll with that. Absolutely love having the conversations that we've been having here on Couch Potato Diary. If you're watching this on YouTube, I try to get to everything in the chat. I know I've missed a couple the last little bit. We do have super chats available and those sorts of things, but I try to get to everything no matter what type of chat they are, super or otherwise. But make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the bell notification thing, so you know when we are going live. Just quickly off the top, I see Shubes' question there about must-see spots at the Jays Stadium. We'll get to that in a second. I do want to say, because I keep forgetting about it, the Couch Potato Diary Vampire League is now live, and we have a couple of spots available in there. Also, if you're watching this and you're one of the people who are in the Vampire League and don't want to be anymore, totally understand. I want you to be, but I completely understand. But yes, we have a couple of spots that are available. So if you are interested, let me know in the chat. If there's more than a couple who are interested, I have a bit of a tiebreaker way to figure it out. But if you're interested in joining the Vampire Fantasy Football League here with Couch Potato Diary, it's fun trash talk throughout the year. Deeds and Toxic from the Twitch chat have done very well, if I recall, the last couple of years. And they always seem to run into the buzzsaw that is my wife in the playoffs. So it's a lot of fun. Love doing the Vampire League. I'm the vampire in it, so you guys get the draft and have all the players. You just have to worry about me coming on your schedule once or twice a year. So just letting you guys know about that. If you're interested, let me know in the chat, and I will figure out a way. If there's only a couple of you, then that's great. If there's more, then we'll figure out the tie-breaking thing. Things looking a little laggy on my end. We have first-time chatter. Deeds did garbage last year. Okay, it was a couple of years ago. Deeds did really well then. But Jordan LBM on Twitch saying, wouldn't mind joining a league. How does the vampire thing work? So I'm the vampire. I don't draft. So if it's a 10-team league, it is technically a 10-team draft, but I basically just draft guys who are currently in the CFL that still find their way on the Yahoo fantasy thing. So basically it turns into a 9-team draft. Once the draft is done, I go into the waiver wire and build my team through free agency. So I don't draft. I get the best of what's left. Each week, I, as the vampire, get number 1 waiver priority, and if I beat your team, you then will get a nice trade request from me on Tuesday morning that you must accept, and I get to pick one of the players off of your roster, off of your starting lineup from that week. I get to pick one of the players off of that lineup, and they become mine for the rest of the season. So it's fine if you can beat me, and it's better for the rest of the league if I don't win early on, because once I start getting a couple of good players, then that ball gets rolling downhill pretty quick. But yeah, that's how it works. I'm the vampire. I get to pick from your team if I beat you, and I get number 1 waiver priority all season long, but I also don't get to draft, and I just kind of get the best of what's left. So it's been a whole lot of fun, and there's a prize at the end of it if you want to join. So Jordan, if you're interested, just kind of confirm that, and at the end of the show, I'll see how many people are into it, and we will go from there. But we got a good question here off the top from Shoobs saying, "Morning PK, heading to Toronto tomorrow to witness my first ever MLB games on Tuesday and Friday. Super excited. Any suggestions for must-see spots at the stadium?" So they have renovated it substantially since the last time I was there. I think we went like 2016, 2017. Joe Biagini got the start, so that tells you the vintage of when this one was going. It wasn't 2016, it was 2017 or 2018. I don't know if I said that before, but because it certainly wasn't in the playoff years for the Blue Jays then. So they've changed it a lot since I was there. So if it were me going, I would want to see all the new like Hall of Excellence thing that they have, like that little like in stadium museum thing. I would want to test out as much of the food options as I possibly could, because it seems like they have really kind of ramped that up. But in terms of like stuff when I was there wasn't really a must do. It was pretty barren when I lived there, but I really like a lot of the stuff around it. I really like going to Steam Whistle before the game. It's a really nice spot, and it's it's walking distance from the Rogers Center. But I always love, and this one is just a nostalgia one for me. I don't know if they've changed this since then, but I loved walking through Union Station. You kind of weave through, and then you come out, and it's not the prettiest of buildings. I'll say it's a big old concrete block out there. But you walk out these doors, and you just see the whole stadium, and you just get that. So the vibe around the entire stadium is a lot of fun. And this was when 5,000 people were going to games. But you got like a bunch of people outside, and there's just like there's a buzz and there's an atmosphere around it. So I would just say, like, get down there as early as you can. Like, don't interrupt any other plans you may have or anything like that, but get down there at a reasonable time early before the game and just take in the whole vibe of the thing. It's a really, really cool vibe around everything there. So if anyone else has been to games more recently than I have with the renovations, we can let Shoobs know and give him anything else that is going on with it. So we already have people defending Deshaun Watson in the chat, which I didn't think was possible. So let's get into it. Yes, Deshaun Watson had the press conference of all press conferences, and everyone in the NFL and surrounding space was saying there's no way you can put this guy out there as your starting quarterback. And then the announcement comes down today that Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So I ask, what the hell are they thinking? So we have Richard DeCredico 6098. I'm sure I'm not saying that right. In the live chat on YouTube saying, "Hey idiots, they paid the guy $250 million. Look, he would not be the first, he being Deshaun Watson, would not be the first big contract player that just got sat before. This is like, it's just a horrendous situation that is happening in Cleveland. So if you missed it over the weekend, Deshaun Watson played particularly dreadful in their game, in their preseason game, to the point where he was getting booed off of the field in that preseason contest. And he has a press conference after, and basically everyone says that this guy like screwed it up. And he went on there and said, "Look, I know they're booing me because of some personal stuff, and I think it's really disrespectful and blah, 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 blah." Like, just incredibly tone deaf. And so everyone's saying, like, you can't have this guy be your starting quarterback. That's the face of your franchise. Don't do that. And so today the announcement comes, and Deshaun Watson is the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And if you want to say, look, they're paying him all this money, they have to play him, then I guess you can make that argument, and it has been made before, but I still, like, it's a sunk cost at this point. They are paying him that money. I still think you owe it to the rest of the players on your football team to try to field the best team, and you owe it to your franchise and your organization as a way. You owe it to them to put them in the best spot for the future. And I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders is going to go out and beat Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. And they're seeing all the practices, we're not. And I understand Shedeur has some work to do. But you cannot tell me that's your best option. Like, there's no way. There is nothing you could possibly say, aside from he makes a bunch of money, that would give you the indication that this guy is going to be the best thing for winning football games this year, and there is even less to suggest that he is going to be the best thing to help this team in the future, developing young wide receivers and being a leader of men out on the field and guiding this team into the new era of Cleveland Browns football. Like, there, aside from he makes a bunch of money, there's nothing you can tell me that would say that this guy deserves to be in this spot in the National Football League. He has been injury prone. He has been horrendous for a really long time now. Like, the images of Deshaun Watson being a good quarterback in the NFL are fading and fading and fading away. Like, we have significantly more examples now of this guy just being dog shit than we have of him being a quality NFL quarterback. And then you layer on top of all of that the off the field shenanigans. I say shenanigans, that's really underselling it. You off the field horrendous accusations that are around this guy, and nothing should lead you to want this guy on your football team in the first place. But they've put themselves in an unwinnable situation with the quarterback thing. With the contract thing. So you have to have him on your football team. That doesn't mean you have to start him. Like, this is, I don't get it. I can't imagine being a player on that team that has to block for this guy. I can't imagine being a player on this team that has to just be around this human being. All of it just seems horrendous. And the problem is, like, one of the justifications for not starting Shedeur and not drafting Shedeur was, oh, well, he's going to be a distraction. It's like, oh, he's going to be the distraction. Really? This is the distracting part. It's Shedeur, not Deshaun Watson and all of this. Like, this is as distraction-y as it gets in some pretty horrific ways. And this is going to be, like, it is the distraction right now. And so if you don't want Shedeur out there because, oh, it's going to be a distraction, then what's Deshaun? Like, I don't get this. This is bordering on malpractice all over the place with this football team. And look, like, they're not going to be good. So I guess, like, Deshaun gives them the best chance of losing to get a number one quarterback in the draft. But holy hell, man, thank God Myles Garrett is out of this situation. And later on here, we're going to do coaches on the hot seat. I didn't put Todd Monken on there, and now maybe I should, because it's horrendous. Again, aside from Richard bringing up the contract, I don't get it. And there are some really high paid guys who have been benched before. So don't give me that. I know that there are different dynamics that go into organizations, and I get Shedeur isn't everyone's cup of tea, but aside from having a famous dad and maybe making, like, a couple of media choices that aren't the best, he's not this guy. Like, this guy is allegedly pretty evil, and now making justifications on it. Also, the whole, well, I think it's disrespectful because they're booing me for personal reasons. Like, my guy, we forgave Kobe. All right? Look at the NFL. Ray Lewis, allegedly, maybe, kinda, possibly, killed a dude and gets celebrated. TV shows on how to be a leader, and all these different banners, Hall of Fames, television gigs, everything. Allegedly killed a guy. And you think that they're booing you for personal reasons. This league is littered with transgressions that people just gloss over. Peyton Manning's had accusations. Did you remember that? No one does, because he was good at being quarterback, and so we just kind of forget all of it. So spare me they're booing me for personal reasons. I'm not proud of this, not justifying it at all, but we have, as a sports watching community, people have glossed over significantly more. Not to undersell anything he's did, or done, or will do, but people have glossed over and forgiven a lot of things along these lines just because they happen to be good at sports balling. So that ain't it, my guy. I wish they were booing you because of this. They're not. They're booing you because you ass at your job right now. So, Judd, get out of here with that. No. Mace Taggart in the chat saying, PK, Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, told the head coach, give Watson week 1 and 2. If he looks horrible, then we'll roll with Shedeur for the rest of the season. That should be weeks 1 and 2 of the preseason. Like, this is where the NFL has a bit of a development issue in quarterbacks, because if you want to throw in Shedeur in the middle of whatever, then fine. Like, I guess. But the thing with Shedeur, and this is where this has been mismanaged from the beginning, and it's something I was saying for a while. Last year with Shedeur is just, it's a wash. One of the things with him, and the reason why I was able to justify the teams not picking him, at least in the first couple of rounds, is he was never going to be ready day one. He was always going to be a project. Year one was going to be a work in progress. And it's 2, 3, 4, 5 where he needs to be judged. But year one, he's not a finished product. He's not ready. And the problem is, because of his name and the guy who's attached to him and all of that, the hype and the buzz around him was going to make it really difficult to have this guy be a backup quarterback. Or it was going to be really difficult to throw him in because of his name, and then he's not ready, and you hurt him developmentally. But now, he had a full season, got to play in some games, figure out what doesn't work, which is mainly what he did, have a full offseason of that. But now, because you're splitting time in this asinine quarterback battle with Deshaun Watson, he's now getting half of the reps, and he's getting half of the progression. And now, if he's not starting the season, he's getting those backup reps, week 1 and week 2. And now he's getting thrown in week 3 as his first week is the one, getting to practice with the ones. And yes, now he has to be perfect. I mean, sure, we cut your development time at least in half, but go out there and be perfect. That's not going to work. It's not. You're not putting him in the best spot to succeed. You're not putting your team in the best spot to succeed. No one thinks, if that is the reason, and I'm not doubting what you're saying, Mace, but if that is the real thing that the owner has said, like, oh, just give him week 1 and 2, and if he's terrible, go from there. What leads you to believe he's not going to be? You know, and even if he's just average, where are you going from there? Like, there's nothing about this guy suggests that he is the short, medium, or long-term solution. So aside from I'm paying him a bunch of money, there's nothing that should be done with this guy. So I'm all the way out, obviously, on Deshaun, and I think the Browns are screwing this up, and I feel bad for Monken that he's put in a really crappy situation here to start this season off. It's his first coaching time with in the NFL, and it's with the Cleveland Browns. So just an awful situation out in Cleveland. If we can keep the conversation going, keep it going in the live chat. If you got some more thoughts on it, I'm going to bounce into some other NFL things. But if you guys want to keep talking about the Shedeur Deshaun Brown situation, keep it going in the live chat. We can do that. Or if you're watching this video after the fact, hit me up in the comments on what you think about this, and we can keep chatting about it down in the comments. While you're there, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Couch Potato Diary. The growth and support of this show has been amazing. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all of it. Yeah, love it. Thank you guys so much for everything you have done here for the channel. We got in the live chat here. We have Jordan, again, saying the WestJet Lounge and Corona rooftop patios are super cool. I went earlier this year. Yeah, that stuff that they've done there, so much of the renovations they've done really make that place seem like they have made it a spot where it looks like it's just a cool hang. Like, it looks like it's a spot to go instead of it's this giant concrete box that you go into and there's a baseball game there, so you watch that baseball game. They seem like they have made it like a really great spot to go and just hang out, and there happens to be a very important baseball game happening in front of you. So yeah, check out as much as you can. But yeah, the Corona rooftop patio thing looks sweet. The WestJet Lounge looks really cool. So Shubes saying that he got a phone call during the response. So go back and watch the live here after if you missed some of it. But like we're saying, like, just check out as much of the in-stadium stuff as you can. Get as much of the experience as you possibly can around there. And Jordan, one of the ones who wants to join the Vampire League. So again, we got a couple of spots available. If only a couple people are interested, then that makes it easy. If not, we're going to do somewhat of a competition-y thing to figure out the tiebreakers. But yes, you guys have been awesome. We're getting the Vampire League going. The draft is happening. I think I scheduled it for next Monday or Tuesday or a couple. I'll have to check, but the draft has been scheduled anyway. So yes, the Vampire League is going to be back for year number 3. Let's continue the NFL conversation here. So we got Shubes and Jordan talking about different chats, though. But we got Shubes and Jordan. Shubes on Twitch, Shubes on YouTube, Jordan on Twitch, talking about the different things to do. Shubes saying, thanks, Jordan. I'm row 8 next to first tomorrow and outfield district general admission tickets on Friday. So, I love that. Love that. Get a couple different experiences, too, around there. So Shubes is doing it right, as you knew he would, going to the Jays game. But back to the NFL conversation. Every year, we don't do the best job of this sometimes, but every year, teams go into the playoff picture that we weren't expecting, and teams fall out of it that we weren't necessarily expecting. So, I'm looking at what teams do we think are falling out of the playoffs, and what teams do we think are taking their spot in the upcoming NFL season. Let's take a look at who's in, who's out in the NFL playoff picture. So, if you watch the Deshaun Watson video, or if you're watching live or coming off of that, Browns aren't going to come up in this conversation, I'll tell you that. So, before we get into who's actually getting back into the playoffs, we have to talk about the teams that are falling out of it. And at number 3, I have the Carolina Panthers. Fun story for them winning the division last year, and I do think they've actually improved a little bit, but you're going to get that first place schedule, and things get a little bit more difficult. So, they are one of those teams, and we get this in the NFL a bit. I think there's going to be a few teams like this year. Carolina, if you look at just the Wikipedia page 5 years from now, you'll say, oh, 2026, they took a bit of a step back. I think this could be a better, improved football team and actually do worse standings-wise and playoffs-wise because the schedule could be a bit more difficult. And I do think we're sleeping on some of the other teams in this division this year. Like, I don't think that... I think people are maybe overrating what New Orleans could do a little bit. I think we're forgetting how good Tampa Bay has been and can be. And I think we're just writing off Atlanta because they don't have the most ideal quarterback situation. So I feel like this is going to be just a bit of a tighter division than it was a season ago. And I think there's going to be a few more challenges for Carolina, so I have them falling out of the playoffs. Next, we go into the AFC. Pittsburgh Steelers. I banged the drum last year that Pittsburgh wasn't going to be good. And then in the season, they made the playoffs. So you would think I would have learned my lesson. I did with the Jets because I thought they'd be a significantly improved team last year, and that was incorrect. But I've not learned my lesson with Pittsburgh. I think if you go back and on Game Pass, just do the quick don't just do the highlights. If you could, now this is going to take some time, but if you can do the quick 45-minute game in an hour thing that they do and watch those games, you will see this group got incredibly fortunate last season. I think they got fortunate because Baltimore got beat to hell injury-wise and all of that. Now they're fortunate to be in Cleveland's division. Now I'm taking shots unnecessarily. But some of the bounces and some of the weird hops that went their way, especially early in the season, but really all throughout the year, I think really made this a fortunate season for Pittsburgh. And now I don't see that being the case for them this year. I do think that Baltimore is going to be significantly improved. I think Cincinnati is going to be a bit of a threat. They're still going to curb stomp Cleveland, but I don't see it with this team for the second year in a row. And I'm pretty sure I was right last year and just bounces went their way. And I'm very sure I'm right this year. So I think Pittsburgh's not making it this year. And number 1 on this list, the San Francisco 49ers. I mentioned them as an overrated team. If you could guarantee me health, then I would be much more inclined to put this team in a chance to win a Super Bowl segment than I am putting them in not making the playoffs. But the injuries have already started piling up in training camp, and their most important player tends to be year on, year off when it comes to injuries, that being Christian McCaffrey. So I don't think they're going to be able to survive the injuries like they did a season ago. So I think it's going to be a problem there in San Francisco this year, and so I think they're out. So if they're out, who's in? 3 teams that are replacing them. Well, for Carolina, it's a pretty straight line. It's Tampa Bay. I think people are sleeping on Tampa Bay. I get, like, Mike Evans left. Ooh, no. Like, I think Igbuka and Godwin are going to be able to pop right back in there and help out this offense. I think they avoided a bit of disaster with Vita Vea not... it sounded like he was demanding a trade. Now they signed him to an extension. He is an absolute rock in the middle of what is actually an all right defense for Tampa Bay. Like, I don't love the coach, but I think that this is still a quality football team, and people are sleeping on it a little bit because Baker Mayfield was banged up from week 2 on last year. Now he's going to be motivated playing for a contract. Not that he's ever not motivated, but he's healthier now. I think he's going to really remind people what he is. So for the in, I have Tampa Bay there. For number 2, taking Pittsburgh's spot, I mean, again, it seems easy, but it's Baltimore. Like, Lamar Jackson, if he just doesn't get as hurt as he did a season ago, this team's a playoff team. They would have been last year if he hadn't got hurt in the way that he did. So I think it's pretty easy. I think that this is going to be a better football team, and I think that they didn't make the Crosby trade. They were able to bring in Hendrickson. That helps out that defense a ton. So I like Baltimore to get right back into the playoff picture. And taking San Francisco's spot, not going to go in division this time because the only one we had to choose from was Arizona, and they're the only team that I feel like is in a worse spot than Cleveland is. So I'm going to go Minnesota here. Again, I think people are sleeping on this group. We look at last year as a bit of a disaster for Minnesota, right? Like if you were to think of, okay, what was Minnesota's season last year? Oh, horrendous, bad, like quarterback issues, that just all these different problems. No one, like Aaron Jones was getting hurt, which is a perpetual issue, but they just had all these different problems on this team. They went 9-8 with all of that. And so now you give them a third place schedule, you give them, I get Kyler Murray isn't the be-all, end-all for quarterbacks. He's better than J.J. McCarthy. And so you improve on a couple of things. This is a playoff team. They have everywhere else aside from quarterback, I think they have it figured out. Offensive line, hit or miss. But they have, even with Aaron Jones getting banged up, Mason is a solid running back. You have one of the most talented receivers in football in Jefferson to go along with, I think, a bit of a wide receiver room that actually kind of, it's not the most star-studded, but I think everyone fits into their spot really, really effectively. You have an incredibly well-coached defense on the other side of the football. Like, everything else is in place. You just need the quarterback to not screw it up. And so I am really interested to see what Kevin O'Connell can get out of Kyler Murray to get that team back into the playoffs. So that's who's in, that's who's out, in my opinion. What do you guys think? We got Mace in the live chat. PK, Dallas, Chiefs, and Vikings in. Jags, Panthers, Bears out. Dallas, I looked at that for a bit with Dallas because I like to kind of crap on Jerry Jones as an owner quite a bit, and as a general manager a significant amount. But I think it's a pretty good case to make that this is an improved football team, especially from the one that started the year last year, right? Like, making those moves at the deadline a season ago, I think was not the best use of assets, for sure, for the Cowboys, but they are a better football team coming into this season. So I can see them making the playoffs for sure. I don't disagree with that take at all, Mace. The Chiefs one, I had them on overrated at the beginning part of the season and earlier ones. So I felt a touch hypocritical putting them in, but I think it's going to be a tight race in the AFC this year with them, with Jacksonville, who you mentioned. I think Indianapolis is going to be all right this season as well. So I think there's going to be, Cincinnati's going to be involved in it too. I think there's going to be an interesting race here. So Kansas City absolutely could get in. I don't hate that one either. We agree on the Vikings. We both agree on the Panthers getting out. Jags getting out. I liked that one. I looked at that one too, and I guess if I would have gone Jacksonville out, I probably would have put Kansas City in. So in this exercise that I totally made up on my own, if I would have had it go to 4 teams, I would have had Jacksonville out and Kansas City in. So I didn't put them in here, but I can agree with you on that. The Bears one's interesting because I think a lot of people are really hyped about this team based off of the playoff performance last year. But if we want to talk about teams getting lucky, my God, a team that connected on 4th and 31 or whatever that was in the playoffs to keep their season alive. There's a little bit going on there, right? Like, there was a lot of fourth quarter comebacks. And traditionally, even if Caleb Williams takes a step forward from last season, you can't believe that all of that is going to happen again. So they could absolutely be another one where, in terms of season success and everything, it looks like a step back. But in terms of actual player development, they take a step forward. But I could see them missing the playoffs, absolutely. So, and the Cowboys being kind of the replacement for them in the playoffs, I don't hate that. So we've disagreed on a few things here, Mace, but I like that. Well, I like those calls there from you on that. What do you guys think? Who's in, who's out playoff wise? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments, and we can keep the conversation going. Also, again, loving all of this that we have with Couch Potato Diary, but I'd love for you guys to have a few more people to talk to. So hit that share button and share this with some of your NFL fan friends. And again, just a couple people you don't like to throw them off a little bit, and we can keep the NFL conversations going. Going to be a bunch more NFL to go as we lead up to the season, and then every day during NFL season, there's going to be some type of content from Couch Potato Diary, either reacting to the week that was or getting ready for the week that's coming up. And again, we got the Vampire League. Getting this out there because we want to get the league rolling. We got Jordan wants in. I got 2 spots to fill. And right now we only got 1 person. So got 2 spots to fill. Who else wants in the Vampire League? Hit me up in the live chat here. And if we don't fill it by that, then we'll go to social media and figure some other stuff out. But yes, we got a couple spots in the Vampire League to fill. So let me know if you want to join there. Let's keep the NFL conversation going. It's said this before. Given the scope of NFL coverage and everything, it's tough to have someone really break through, and it's tough to have some of those real surprise performances. But every year we have someone who finally either reaches that potential or just the natural progression from one year to the next really finds their way into breaking out in the NFL. And so this year I got 4 guys who I think are going to be breakout stars for NFL and for fantasy, guys who could potentially be league winners for you this year. Here are my breakout players for 2026. All right, coming in at number 4, it is Bayshell Tootin. This is not, I get a unique take. I know a lot of people really high on Tootin this year. There's going to be a lot of the backfield is going to be his, and a lot of opportunity is going to be going to him in an offense that a lot of people are thinking is going to be pretty good. They were, I was going to say sneaky good. They won 13 games a season ago. That's not sneaky. That's just good football. So it's a good offense. It's one that's conducive to fantasy. So I think, again, he's going to be someone who is really going to get a boost in fantasy production. And I also think from a real football standpoint, the league is going to really take notice of the guy who's got a name that makes you chuckle a little bit. But the one problem with this is, like I did underrated, overrated last week. The problem with this one is that he is going to be a breakout player, I think, but he does not fit in the underrated category. He is already getting drafted as if, like, best case scenario was happening with this guy. So I want to pull back the reins a touch on where he's getting drafted, but I think there's also breakout potential. So it's a weird kind of mix where I think he has the potential to live up to that draft capital that people are putting in on him, while I'm also saying he hasn't yet, so can we chill a touch? But I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. Coming in at number 3, I have Alex Pierce from the Indianapolis Colts. Like, I am so in on this guy. If you watched a lot of the content from last year, you will know I was trying to get him across the line for a lot of people. He came up on the waiver wire stuff a lot last season, but Pittman's gone. Daniel Jones is coming back. To what extent, who knows? But the thing with Pierce, a lot of people talking, oh, he's just the go route guy. He's just run fast and a straight line guy. You can't rely on that. But if you watch how he was used a season ago, he was being implemented across the field in a number of different formations. The route tree wasn't just a stick. It had branches. Twas not a full bush. Pause. But there were branches on this thing. He was developing a bit more of a refined skill set as a wide receiver. And so now, again, you give him a full off season to figure that out and to continue to work on his game. And now you bring him in. It's either him or Downs as the number 1. I don't mind people taking Downs as a bit of a flyer, but this guy's going like 8th, 9th round from what I was looking at today. That's a dude. Like, that's a dude's dude there, I think. So this is one where I think he is going to outperform that draft capital that people are putting on him. I think this guy ends the season as someone we are talking about as a legitimate number 1 receiver on an NFL team. Kind of same thing here with number 2 and Rome Odunze. I get Luther Burden is the fun whatever, but so much talk about Odunze, and I've talked about him in underrated before, so I'm not going to go too deep on this one. But for Odunze, there was so much hype around this guy coming out of the draft process. And you go back and you watch the draft tape, it's like, this is such a refined receiver. And if we think Caleb's going to be able to take a step, and it's year 2 now of these guys all in Ben Johnson's system, yes, Luther Burden could take a step forward. But I think Rome Odunze comes out of this season as the guy for the Chicago Bears. There's going to be a lot for everyone to eat, not just the cat food that automatically goes off at 11 that I keep forgetting to change the time on. This is going to be a guy that I think is going to be part of a very high-powered offense, but he's going to be the one that is going to come out. Burton's going to get his, but 3rd and 6, who are they going to go to? Roma Odunze, sorry. Loveland's going to get his also, but like big plays late in football games, Roma Odunze is going to be the one that this team relies on. So I think he is going to have a breakout season for this Chicago Bears team. And at number 1, a guy who a lot of people were amped up on last year, makes a big play in the preseason. First preseason, not even snap, kickoff, house call. TreVeyon Henderson. I get Ramondre Stevenson's in the way, and he has a coach who seems to just absolutely give Ramondre, like cat food just went off in here. Ramondre has more than 9 lives on that football team. I think this year, TreVeyon Henderson becomes undeniable. That second-year jump, I think he's going to make it substantially. I think it's going to be a better offense in New England. And I get there isn't going to be maybe as much for those for those guys because the pass catchers have improved with Brown and with Dobbs. I had said Wicks a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry about that. It's Dobbs and A.J. Brown in that wide receiver room, but that just means a better offense. That just means more opportunities for touchdowns, more opportunities for scoring, and a little bit more space out there, right? Not that everyone was just gearing up to stop the run or anything like that against New England, because Drake May had a fantastic season still, but I still think teams are going to have to focus on A.J. Brown a little bit more than they did Kayshon Boutte and all of that, right? So I think that this is going to be a real breakout season for TreVeyon Henderson. I think he's an incredible value where he's going in fantasy, and I think from a real-life NFL standpoint, this guy is going to win them some football games and keep them, even with a significantly more difficult schedule, he is going to keep them in the playoff hunt, and not just the playoff hunt, but in the hunt for the division title again out in New England. So those are the guys who think are going to break out this season in the NFL. Who do you guys think? Who did I miss? Am I too high on any of these guys? Let me know in the chat or in the comments after, and we can keep chatting about it there. Also, again, a reminder, because of your guys' support, we've been able to make partner here on YouTube, which means memberships are available, super chats are available with the memberships. I've made some badges and some emojis that we can roll with here in the chats as well. So I understand times are what they are. Weird times financially, Canada and the States and that whole thing. We don't need to get into that. But I understand times are what they are. So just you spending time to hang out with me while we're doing these shows means the world to me. But if you have the means and you want to become a member, we are going to have some members only live chats and live streams once the shows once the member numbers start to get up there a little bit. We're going to start to do a lot of that stuff. So all the stuff that's been free still will be free. It's just going to be bonus stuff there with memberships here with Couch Potato Diary on YouTube. And if you're watching on Twitch, hit that subscribe button, if you have the means, or hit the follow button. But again, just watching is all the support I could have ever dreamed of from you guys here on Couch Potato Diary. All right, back in the live chat, we got May saying, PK, you're a breath of fresh air. This platform truly makes my day, Pete. Thank you for your platform. And then a few emojis. Hey, look, you guys make my day, all right? This is... It has been a bit of a difficult time, obviously, media-wise, and everything going on with all of that. And I would be probably in a much more bitter, much more upset mood if I didn't have the chance to come on here and talk with you guys, and if you guys weren't supporting everything we do with Couch Potato Diary. So I need to be thanking you guys. And it probably gets excessive that I do it like every segment, but I can't thank you guys enough. Seeing the growth, seeing everything, seeing the support has been truly, truly awesome. And so... thank you guys for not letting me turn into a bitter old radio guy just yet. Anyway, but no, I appreciate that you appreciate the platform. Like, it's fun having you guys being able to have the chats here. Also, I didn't acknowledge before with BBJ in the chat. Hi, BBJ 403 out there. So thank you for popping in here today. And again, extra part of the community. If you want another fantasy league to join, we got the Vampire League. We got 2 spots available, one of them claimed by Jordan. If we got more than 2, we're going to do, I got a bit of a competition that I have lined up. We can figure it out. But if we just get 2, honestly, if we get like 4 and it has to be a 12-team league, makes my job as the vampire a bit more difficult. But if you want another fantasy league, free to enter. And there is a prize at the end from Sea of Dead. Then Would love for you to join. Just let me know in the chat and we can figure that out. But Jordan has expressed his interest, and so we will probably be having him in, that's for sure. Mace suggesting his breakout players. Rice, the running back, and Washington, the wide receiver. Are we talking which Washington? Sorry. Also, which Rice? I should know that one. But are we going Malik Washington or Parker Washington for wide receiver, and then Seahawks tight end for the breakouts there? Yeah, Seahawks tight end. I had been giving him out last year a few times as the fantasy. So how we do fantasy waiver wires during the season is I will have a traditional waiver wire segment on Tuesday. And then once waivers run Wednesday morning, we get back on. I was like, all right, these are the guys who are left. If you didn't get the guy you want, this is the one that you're going to roll with. So, clarify those for me, Mace, because I'm maybe still a little under the weather and just forgetting who they may be. And for Washington, there's a couple of options there. So let me know who you're talking about as we continue on here with the NFL conversation. In football, the pressure is high, right? These are billion-dollar organizations, and the only thing that matters is championships. So, each year, the pressure on these coaches and players gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And this year, I think there are a couple of candidates for this list that are going to surprise some people. I got 5 coaches on the hot seat, and not to do the buzz thing, but, or not to do the BuzzFeed thing, but number 1 might surprise you a little bit. These are the coaches that I think might be coaching for their job this season in the NFL. So, all right, coaches on the hot seat in the National Football League. At number 5, this one's obvious. He is probably everyone's bet to be first coach fired. It's Aaron Glenn. I said last year that this was the exact coach the Jets needed. Accountability, culture, all of that, improved defensive football, all of that coming to the Jets. And they got none of it. So that's a problem. It was a disaster season last year. And Aaron Glenn, kind of the thing that he was supposed to be good at was the thing that this team really sucked at. Not getting any turnovers or interceptions from a defensive first coach is a problem. I know, never played the game aside from one practice in high school, but I'm just going to say that feels like an issue. And so they start the season, week 1, against Robert Saleh and the Tennessee Titans. So if they go 0-1, guy might get fired. I think the seat under him is incredibly hot. Obviously, he has Geno Smith as his quarterback. There's only so much they can do. But it needs to be more competitive. It needs to be better on the defensive side. Significantly better. Offensively, whatever. But Breece Hall and Wilson, Garrett Wilson, have to be names that we're talking about. At least at some point this year. Not just, oh shit, they're on the Jets. There needs to be actual improvement on the exciting young players that we thought they had, and there needs to be some semblance of a defensive structure that might maybe one time get them an interception. So, just, I know the bar's high with 1, but they need to get that figured out. Another defensive-minded coach coming in next, Todd Bowles with Tampa Bay. You can write off last year as, down year, still had a chance to play for a division title, couldn't get the job done, and her quarterback was banged up after week 2. That's nice 1 year. It ain't nice the second year. You're in a bad division, and you have objectively the best roster, or should. You at least have the most veteran roster of this division. Carolina has done their rebuild. They got their guy at quarterback, they think, and now they're trying to progress out of it. New Orleans might have their quarterback, but they certainly have gone more the youth route, and they're trying to progress here. Atlanta has a bunch of interesting weapons, but a bit of a flawed quarterback system there, and I still not entirely sure where they're at defensively. Tampa Bay should be the best team in this division. The fact that they're not even being really mentioned for division winners is a little surprising to me. And so if this team is not in that conversation again this year, Todd Bowles has to go with all the weapons they have, the team that they have. Maybe I'm overselling this roster a little bit, but I don't think he's getting the most out of it. And I think if he was, this team would be a runaway in this division every single year. So they need to show some improvement coming up this season. At number 3, Kevin O'Connell with the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, 2 seasons ago, phenomenal year. Got the most out of Sam Darnold, made that guy some money. and helped develop him into the quarterback that won the Super Bowl. Problem wasn't with his own team. And you can talk about a roster construction thing all you want, but there is no doubt in my mind that part of the decision to let Sam Darnold go is, hey, I did it with Sam Darnold, I can do it with JJ McCarthy. All right? I can get this guy going. We can get it rolling. And as we said before, they went 9-8, which is better than a lot of people, I think, remember how they did. But when the guy who you let go goes off and wins the Super Bowl, now there's pressure on you to kind of get this thing back on track. So JJ McCarthy's not an excuse anymore. Not that Kyler Murray, again, is Tom Brady coming in here. But this is a very good roster that they are not getting the most out of. And I think that if this is another down year, especially at the quarterback position, then all of a sudden the quarterback whisperer's job might be in trouble in a division that's incredibly competitive. Before we get to my list, a couple honorable mentions here from Mace. We got LaFleur with the Green Bay Packers. I don't disagree with you on that one. I like that call. We've been able to write off, injuries this, and Jordan Love development that. But again, you're supposed to be the offensive guy, getting the most out of your quarterback. If the quarterback's not doing everything he's supposed to be doing, might be on you, So I think there could be some pressure there, 100%. I like the Sirianni call here too. I like that as one because again, just won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but it was horrendous last year. And we're talking about like locker room vibes, culture, and all of that. And it ran a very talented receiver out of town. You best be right. So now the offense has to look significantly better. We want to talk about rosters. I have these guys as one of the most talented teams in the NFL. So if you're not getting that team, forget like playoffs. Forget playoffs. Get this team to a conference championship. And honestly, because they won the Super Bowl, I think winning a round in the playoffs probably gets them there, or probably keeps him his job. But to me, it has to be this team can genuinely threaten for a championship, not just, hey, we got into the tournament, or else I'm looking in a different direction. But a name you bring up here is one that I have next on the list, and that's Zach Taylor at number 2 with the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I don't think coaching has been the problem in Cincinnati. I think zero investment on the offensive line or on the defense. They've made investment on the defense. It just hasn't been good ones. But zero investment in the offensive line. Having your franchise quarterback have to run around like a crazy person and then just getting hurt a lot. Again, it's tough to blame the coach for that. But at some point, you know what you have. Yes, it would be better if the offensive line was better. Of course it would. It would be better if the defense was better. 1,000%. That would help them win a little bit more. But at some point, you know what you got. And you can't just say, yes, it would be better if I had one of the top 5 rosters in football. Just how math works, only 5 coaches get to have that. So you have to figure out how to win with the pieces that you do have. And I don't think Zach Taylor has done an awesome job with some in-game management, some personnel decisions, and anything like that. I think this guy has to have this team. Again, this division is not competitive. The Browns, we did 10 minutes off the top yelling about how dumb they are. And the conclusion that we came to, I didn't read it in the chat, but the conclusion we came to was Mace saying, hey, it's Jimmy Haslam we're talking about here. We get it, So that's what you're dealing with one of the teams. The other was Baltimore last year, who couldn't keep their quarterback on the field. You lost to Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of freaky bounces and weren't even competitive in that conversation, really. So it's time to get this team, at the very least, into the conversation for making the playoffs, which is not a very high bar to clear. But honestly, I think he has to make the playoffs this year to keep his job, or else they're figuring out something else there. And I think a lot of changes could be coming in Cincinnati if this is just another lost season for the Bengals. And number 1, I don't like to do the hot take thing. I can just see how the conversations would go if this isn't the year. I think number 1's Andy Reid. Yes, at the helm of some amazing offensive seasons and the greatest run that the Kansas City Chiefs have had in their franchise history, and one of the great runs that any franchise has had, not named the New England Patriots and probably not named the Steelers. Aside from that, this is he has put a dynasty together. But the offense has been putrid for a couple of seasons now. And you can't use Patrick Mahomes' injury as an excuse from last year, because he got injured in the game that was going to mathematically eliminate them from the playoffs anyway. It was a down year all year long for them. And like they have had one of, if not the best defense in football for a pretty good stretch here, right? Like 5-10 years or so. Like basically the entire Mahomes era, they have also really put a lot of focus on the defensive side of the football. And yes, they have taken weapons away. Tyreek Hill leaving significantly altered how this offense was going to produce. And Travis Kelce just getting older was a very reliable target that you kind of take away from this offense. But again, one of the reasons you trade away Tyreek Hill, they were able to get a lot of pieces and help buoy this team into another Super Bowl run with the stuff they were able to get and the money they were able to free up in a Tyreek Hill thing. But one of the reasons you're able to do that is because, oh, well, Andy Reid can scheme things with Patrick Mahomes, and that's going to be great. The big thing that has thrown this team off is teams have done too high coverage on them. That shouldn't be enough. Okay, like that's, yes, the big play over the top was this big thing that they were able to really get some success with in the early years. But teams have been doing just that, just an extra human back there. That shouldn't be the wild jigsaw that's thrown everything off. And they have missed on a lot of wide receivers. And yes, the one that they maybe have hit on in Rashee Rice has a bit of trouble staying out of prison. But I still think when you have Patrick Mahomes and you have enough of the everything that's around there, that at some point, the conversation needs to turn to Andy Reid. And again, I think this is one of the great coaches of all time. He is easily the best coach in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, probably the best coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles too. He is a Hall of Famer the second he retires from the National Football League. But if this team misses the playoffs again this season, I think there's going to be a lot of conversations around the end of this dynasty. And Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. Not that they would trade him, not that I think there's a rift. But I think if you are looking at trying to figure out how to jumpstart this team, back-to-back years missing the playoffs, I think Andy Reid's name is going to come up a lot. They've brought in Eric Bieniemy to, like, okay, we're getting the band back together on the offensive side of the football. I feel like, again, at this point, all the excuses, at some point, it has to look back at the quarter or at the coach. So Andy Reid, I think, is my number one coach on the hot seat going into this season. I don't think there's going to be a lot of agreement with me on this, but let me know in the chat why I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments why I'm wrong. We got Mace Taggart in the chat going, "Wow, ballsy, Pete." Again, like I don't like to go into the hot take thing. I wish I could. Like I wish I could be that hot take guy because it is obviously a significantly easier path to financial freedom for some than just being the, intellectual sportsy person. Not that I'm a super brainiac guy on here or anything like that, but I wish I could be more hot take guy. So this is not me trying to get clicks or anything like that. Like this is just me knowing how these conversations go. And you're telling me if this team is 6-8 going into week 16, because I'm assuming they'd have had their bye by then, and like kind of in that last column of in the hunt, in the when they flash the standings up, like division leaders, wild card, in the hunt, if they're just kind of at the bottom of in the hunt and we kind of just have to keep them on there because we got Mahomes coming up on the national TV game whenever again, and we just need to have them on there for some kind of an interest, you're telling me they're in that spot and we're not having conversations about that guy? No way. No, I know. Simmons would be talking about it. Nick Wright would be yelling about him getting fired. Stephen A. Smith would have already hired someone else. Like, all of those conversations would be had if this is there. So it may come across as a hot take, but just ask yourself, if this team is in the same situation they were a season ago, that you're telling me we're not having that conversation? I think we are. So let me know in the chat how wrong I am and who else should be on this list, or if anyone else shouldn't. Let me know in the chat or in the comments, and we can keep that conversation going. We also had Campbell suggested from Mace in the chat. I could see Dan Campbell with the Lions. Again, last year, a bit of a step back, lost a couple of coordinators, and so it's okay. How much of the team's success was Glenn and Johnson, and how much of it was Dan Campbell? Do we need another guy in here to get that going? Again, I think he has been so important to the turnaround of the Lions, but at some point, it's great to be the turnaround guy. Now you got to get him over the finish line. We'll see if that happens. So he would be an honorable mention for me too, 100%. So yeah, loving the football conversation we got going on in the chat today. Let's keep it rolling on social media. You can hit me up. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, and over on Blue Sky. So just looked at the coaches who are on the hot seat, but the seat gets warm under the tush of some of these players too. Not going to go 5, but we got 3 players who I think are sitting on a pretty hot seat for various different reasons going into the upcoming NFL season.